Well, Trump lawyer Alan Dershowitz breaks CNN. That's what we'll be talking about on today's video. We're going to take a look at the colossal $300 million defamation lawsuit that just got a huge victory in the courts. We're going to look at the growing number of patriots suing the mainstream media and why the days for the most distrusted name in news may indeed be coming to an end. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you as always. We are your daily fake news antidotes. Each and every day we provide patriotic analysis to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. If you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we jump into things here, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's our good friends over at Virtual Shield. Gang, now if you're not using what's called a VPN or virtual private network on your desktop, tablet, or mobile device while browsing the internet, and you really are exposing yourself to a lot of potential danger. But protecting yourself online, frankly, it's just never been easier. And to make it even better, Virtual Shield is offering our audience, get this, 30% off all VPN plans and all premium add-ons. So do not wait. This is a limited time offer. Click on the link in the description below. Sign up for a free 30-day trial to Virtual Shield VPN today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. CNN is facing yet another lawsuit. This time it's a big one. It's coming from Alan Dershowitz, the Harvard Law professor, of course, defended President Trump at his first impeachment trial in the Senate. Dershowitz is suing CNN for $300 million for defamation. What happened is that CNN went after Dershowitz with a pretty despicable hit piece where they edited his comments about whether Trump could have been impeached if he committed an illegal act he believed was in the public interest. And Dershowitz argues in his lawsuit that CNN repeated the clip over and over to make him appear as if he had gone nuts. He was answering a question from Senator Ted Cruz during the whole impeachment trial as to whether a president could be impeached and removed from office if his actions are in accordance with his desire to be reelected. Dershowitz gave a very long, careful answer that CNN then abridged. They heavily edited it so as to make him look like he was saying something they did not in fact say. So this is from the lawsuit. Quote, following the airing of the clip over and over again, the hosts, together with their panel guests, including CNN employees and paid commentators, explode into a one-sided false narrative that Professor Dershowitz believes and argued that as long as the president believes his re-election is in the public interest, that he could do anything at all, including illegal acts, and be immune from impeachment. The very notion of that was preposterous and foolish on its face, and that was the point, to falsely paint Professor Dershowitz as a constitutional scholar and intellectual who had lost his mind. Now, CNN tried to have the case thrown out of court on the grounds of what's called the fair report privilege, right, which shields the press from litigation when reporting about government proceedings. But a U.S. District Court judge disagreed with the argument, saying that the way CNN treated Dershowitz was clearly misleading, intentionally so, and therefore does not come under the immunity provided by the fair report privilege. The judge ruled, quote, CNN presented an abridgment of Dershowitz's answer to Senator Cruz's question. He writes, the abridgment is not accurate to the extent that it omitted a crucial qualification, that an illegal motive for a quid pro quo would be corrupt. As a result, the commentator's statements that Dershowitz believes the president could do anything, even commit crimes, if it would help his reelection, are not based upon a fair and accurate summary of Dershowitz's statement to the Senate. And so, Dershowitz's massive lawsuit is going forward, which means that his lawsuit moves to what's called discovery. The right of discovery means that Dershowitz's legal team can now scrutinize all the depositions and evidence that CNN would use for trial, which means that CNN would get what is in effect an audit of the partisan nature of their newsroom. I think this is why CNN was so quick to settle a $250 million lawsuit against them filed by Nick Sandmann, the Covenant Catholic School student who CNN accused of racism at the March for Life in Washington, D.C. a couple of years back. If you recall, a video surfaced that reportedly, and that's key, was reported by the all-too-eager left-wing media outlets that these high school seniors who were high school students who were wearing MAGA hats, They had surrounded this elderly Native American man from another march, a small indigenous peoples march. And the media reported that this Native American man was minding his own business, beating on his ceremonial drum. And then all of a sudden, all these white Trump radicalized Catholic kids began circling him and mocking him and ridiculing and harassing this poor old man in racially insensitive ways. And so the headlines from CNN to MSNBC, the AP, and on, they all reported that Trump-inspired students engaged in a sickening display of racism caught on video. And then that led, as any one of us could have predicted, that led to the virtue signalers on the left utterly exploding. The students were being accused of racist white patriarchy. They and their families were doxxed and harassed by leftists on social media. A number of verified accounts on Twitter called for the death of the students, for heaven's sakes. One in particular recommended that their school be burned down with the students actually locked inside. Now, of course, it turned out none of it was true. It was the Native American fellow who came up to them, started harassing the students. This Native American fellow turned out to be a far-left activist. And the students were actually being racially accosted by a black nationalist group. And so CNN had total egg on their face, and they had to settle. And I think they want to settle, frankly, so fast because they did not want to give Sandmann's lawyers the right to discovery. They didn't want their Marxist propaganda outlets that they disguise as newsrooms scrutinized for all the world to see. And so that raises the question as to whether Dershowitz is in the mood to settle here. And that's because he's part of a growing movement of more and more people who frankly have had enough of being defamed by these left-wing activists disguised as journalists who then try to hide behind their supposed litigative immunity. We did a video that you're going to absolutely love about the number of patriots that are rising up and suing the mainstream media, pushing back against all their disinformation and slander of all things nationalist, populist, and traditionalist. So make sure to check out that video because it's absolutely going to make your day. It's certainly going to pump you up. And what's so fascinating here is that the more and more leftist and ridiculous the mainstream media becomes, the more the courts are beginning to turn against them. We're seeing that with the recent stunning victory won by Project Veritas against the New York Times. Project Veritas is suing the New York Times for malice in the reporting against him. In a landmark ruling just some weeks back, the New York Supreme Court justice ruled against the Times motion, dismissed the suit, and found that there was more than enough evidence to demonstrate that the New York Times was indeed motivated by actual malice and acted with reckless regard in several articles defaming Project Veritas. Now, this is an ongoing suit, and the decision is huge because now it subjects the New York Times to some pretty intense scrutiny in terms of the partisan conduct of their newsrooms. And this decision was supplemented with D.C. Circuit Judge Lawrence Silberman's call to his fellow judges to overturn a previous Supreme Court decision that has protected the press from litigation and allowed it to become radically leftist and partisan. According to Silberman, we are seeing nothing less than a one-party control of the news media, which is the single most serious threat to the vibrancy of our democracy. And according to my namesake, Jonathan Turley, the George Washington University law professor, this win by Project Veritas against the New York Times, it was very, very significant because, again, just like the Alan Dershowitz case against CNN, this win now gives Project Veritas the right to discovery with the New York Times, the right to scrutinize every aspect of the New York Times case. So this is huge. The lawyers for both Dershowitz and Project Veritas are going to be able to scrutinize the way, shall we say, the sausage is made right behind the closed doors of the mainstream media. And that is certainly not good news for what has become such an obvious left-wing industry. If Dershowitz is successful with his court case against CNN, that's just going to further denigrate the cable network's already shattered reputation. You definitely want to check out a video. I just uploaded it just days back on CNN. You're going to love it. CNN is losing upwards of 75% of their audience since January this year. I mean, it's utterly an astonishing hemorrhaging of viewers. I think it's frankly unprecedented for any major news network. Don Lemon himself, we reported on this in a video just last week. Don Lemon himself has lost 80% of his viewership. 80%. CNN is clearly collapsing. And with these lawsuits now piling up, The days of the most distrusted name in news may indeed finally be coming to an end. Now, before you go, you definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded. It's on how French President Macron gets slapped across the face in public. It's absolutely crazy. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.